Thank you for joining this morning's webinar. We are going to be going over an introduction to Bravo for CompuPawn users this morning. Just to let you know, today's session is being recorded, and we'll go ahead and post it at the end and send you an email to the link of all of our recorded webinars. I'm going to start in just 1 minute. If you have questions before we start, you'll see a chat panel in your GoToMeeting panel. You can go ahead and just post questions in there. We're waiting for just a few more people. I'll give them about 45 more seconds and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks again, everybody, for joining this morning's webinar. Today we'll be doing an introduction to Bravo for CompuPawn users. Just as a heads up, this webinar is being recorded and we'll go ahead and post this to our library, and I'll send you a link to a library of all of our recorded demos so you can see what else we're talking about. I have a few tips, pointers for everybody today. The webinar is going to last about 50 minutes plus time at the end for questions. If you do have a question, go ahead and type it into the chat box located in your GoToMeeting panel. We'll be answering those at the end of the webinar. We are also connected for questions on social media. You can post a question on Twitter using hashtag Bravo Webinar Series, or you can submit a question on Facebook. Our URL is facebook.com/Bravo Store Systems. And while you're there, please go ahead and friend us. We just hit 1,000 followers. I'm Tally Mack. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Bravo. And also with me today is Marco Evans. He's the Vice President of Sales.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for joining.
So today we're going to be talking about how Bravo got its start. We'll also talk about some of the challenges you all are facing today. We're going to talk about why Bravo's the best solution for brick and mortar pawn shops. We'll discuss a bit of the Bravo e-commerce and omni-channel philosophy before we jump into the demonstration. Marco will be taking over for the demo, and then we'll finish up with questions at the end. And just one more reminder, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat panel and we'll get to all of your questions at the end. So let's jump into the challenges that you all are facing. I asked in the form that you all submitted when you signed up for this webinar what some of the challenges that you were facing. So I'm going to briefly go over these, address them, and talk about where we're going to discuss them today. And then if you have additional questions at the end, feel free to ask them. The first question was about learning the system overall. First, you'll see Bravo's intuitive user interface as we start going through the demonstration, but we also have a ton of training options that are included with Bravo. We have Bravo Academy, which is a 2-week training course that's emailed to you and your employees daily. We have a quick tour of that where it's a little bit quicker paced. So if you don't have 2 weeks and you want to train quicker than that, we have an option for you. We also have the Bravo Workbook, and that's a printable guide that your employees can actually print and work out of and write things down. So if they're more of a writing sort of style learner, they can do it that way. And then we also have the Solution Center, and that houses all of our videos and how-to articles. You can type into it just like Google, and it will return all of our hundreds of articles for you to research answers. And then, of course, we have webinars. And our webinars we have a few that are specifically tailored to new users and level 2 users and level 3 users. And that's an overview of learning, but we'll talk about more of that as we go on. Another challenge that you all are facing is regulatory pressure. I'm going to go ahead and partner that with DoD compliance. Compliance is number one on our list, and it's something that you should expect from your software company. Bravo is agile, and so our platform can be really changed with the growing and complicated regulations of today's pawn business. And that includes state and county and countrywide. As far as the DoD goes, Bravo is ready for the new MLA requirements. We'll show you that. Those are going into effect on October 3rd, and Bravo's process really streamlines that for you so that you're not spending a ton of time at the counter making sure that you're compliant with the new Department of Defense regulations. Another challenge that you guys are facing is declining door swings in sales. We're going to discuss ways to drive customers into your store and to get them keep coming back into your store. Expanding loan balance. One of the things and one of the most powerful features of Bravo is the estimator, and we'll talk about how that alone will empower you to loan at least $5 more per every single loan transaction that you're writing. Another one of you had a challenge of the speed of service, and you'll see Bravo in action today and just how quick it is. One of you had a question or a challenge about inventory while selling online, removing your items on eBay in time so that you're not selling the same thing twice and getting in trouble from eBay. We'll talk a bit about omni-commerce and how Bravo's going to manage that entire process for you. And we also have 2 other webinars dedicated to BIA and selling online, so be sure to check those out if you have more questions on that. So let's talk a little bit about Bravo and about our history. So Bravo was founded by Steve Mack. He's a 4th-generation pawnbroker, and he grew his single store into 50 stores, and those were called CompuPawn. His 2 partners, Mike and Kelly, also have very extensive backgrounds in the pawn business, and Steve started developing systems and tools for the pawn industry in the early 80s, and we launched our first eBay and online sales channel in 2001. So Steve's store, CompuPawn, as far as the online side, they really wanted to extend the reach of storefronts and maximize the efficiency at a minimum cost. But as you know, if you've sold online, you know that it's very challenging. And some of the challenges that you all might be facing might be the lack of brand recognition, the high cost of doing business online, or maybe some of you are challenged with a high activity cost. And Steve found that when he was selling items online at CompuPawn, he was paying $23 an item just to post, and that was his activity cost. And so what we've developed and what Steve developed was an application that links the store point of sale system to an online channel. And that's what eBay wrote the case study about in 2004, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So Bravo now has 450 customers using the platform. Like I mentioned before, we have a solution center which hosts extensive video and self-help resources, and we also offer 24/7, 365 mission-critical support. Let's talk a little bit about the Bravo point of sale high level. Bravo was built by operators for operators. It was built by pawnbrokers for pawnbrokers. And so we have a very robust back office for management where you can adjust source settings and employee security. Speaking of employee security, Bravo is a very tight system that's exception-based. And this means that each user will have their own username and password, and you'll be able to set different access levels for different employees. And what this really means is that your employees only see what you want them to see. And Bravo keeps track of the exceptions, and that includes an audit trail of when the exception happened, what it was, who asked for it, and who approved it. And Marco will show you that in our demo. Bravo also offers the most robust customer management tools. So knowing what your customers are buying and pawning, as well as who your top customers are, those are critical pieces to the pawn business. A bit about the estimator. We began developing this in the late 90s. Its benefits are huge. We'll talk about them a lot. But imagine maximizing and increasing your loans based on what something can sell for. So in Bravo, you'll create better descriptions, you'll loan more accurately, you'll train your employees to ask the same questions for the same items, you'll better categorize items, you'll reduce the time of transactions, and you're going to lower your online and in-store return rate just by using the estimator. You'll also have access to a rich price guide, and you'll know where the best place to sell an item is before even writing the loan. You'll know the margins and where to post forfeited inventory, and you'll see historical data on millions of transactions. And Bravo also provides rich reporting and analytics, so being able to analyze the data and know what best products are, what's bringing you the best margin. You'll have powerful employee performance statistics. You'll be able to view your store or company performance with just one click from the dashboard. I want to talk quickly about extending your online presence. So most of your customers will shop online or browse around before ever stepping foot into your pawn shop. So if your store isn't selling online or doesn't have an online presence, then you're likely missing out on customers walking into your store. Bravo's going to provide you tools to help you extend your branding from your physical store all the way through your internet presence. And so we put your storefront in front of millions of online shoppers and viewers. We're going to link your social media accounts. We purchase AdWords and drive traffic to your store and your inventory. Plus, we feed your inventory into Google, Bing, and Yahoo every single day so that online customers can find you, they can find your store, and they're going to walk through your door. We talk about omni-channel a lot, and that might be a new word for some of you. Not all e-commerce integrations are created the same, and Bravo's the only pawn software with omni-channel capability. Bravo's omni-commerce channel processes support the business of selling online with the fewest required resources. And that means that you're going to be able to sell online without adding a bunch of extra employees. What omni-commerce really means is that you only have to go to one area to access your information for inventory and web orders. And so you're going to extend your branding from your physical location to your e-commerce platform, and that's going to create a consistent shopping experience for your shoppers. With Bravo, you'll be able to sell your inventory in-store and simultaneously in other online channels like Buy It, eBay, and your own company branded website. And if it sells in your store, then it will automatically be removed from your online channels and vice versa. So you don't have to worry about selling the same item twice. Now, when the item sells, your employees are notified in real time, and Bravo's going to take them through the entire shipping and fulfillment process and the entire feedback and return process so that you never have to leave the Bravo dashboard. If you've sold on eBay before, you know it's really hard and expensive. And one of the things that Bravo is going to do is it eliminates the complications. We are going to eliminate the steps that are taking up too much time and that are costing you too much money. All of this at the end of the day is going to make you more efficient. It's going to make your customers more loyal because of their experience. And it's going to make you focus on what's the most important in your business, and that's increasing your efficiency, lowering your transaction costs, and making more money, and ultimately growing your business. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into the demonstration. I'm going to give the power to Marco, and I'll catch up with you all at the end of the demonstration for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tally. So I believe everybody can see my screen now, and this is what we refer to as the dashboard. The dashboard is really your home screen for running and operating Bravo. And I'm going to go into each section of the home screen, which if you look in the upper left-hand corner, the first part in the upper left-hand corner is what we refer to as the customer search area. This is the area where you'll look up customers, you'll be able to look up phone numbers, and match clients in your database to the person that's standing in front of you. And that's done here in the upper left. One of the things we've tried to do is we've tried to combine a lot of functionality onto the home screen, onto the dashboard, so that you're not jumping, clicking, and moving from one screen to another. It makes it very efficient in your operation when you can increase your customer experience and your customer service component by getting clients taken care of in the best possible manner and increasing that experience. And we do that by keeping efficiencies inside of the system. So that first area right here is customer lookup. If you move to the right-hand side, you'll see this area. It's called Smart Search. It's very Google-esque in its design. You could do several different things here. I'll select the drop-down so you can actually see what we do inside of this little area. You can look up an inventory number. You can look up a pawn ticket. You can look up a layaway. You can scan a label, a barcode, or you can do simply an inventory search, and we'll get to that in a moment. When we create a loan, create a buy, use the estimator, or use our jewelry master, which is really what Tally was referring to earlier. It's a really, really great way of being able to add clients and look up information very quickly between both of these. If you move on down below, performance reports and reports. We heard you loud and clear. We don't like searching for reports. Give us ease of operation with the reports and access to them so we can get them quicker, faster, better. Tell us how our stores are doing. Tell us how our employees are doing. Tell us how my individual store is doing, and tell us how e-commerce works. So I'm going to cover those very quickly now. We call this positive pressure. This is my ranking in our test database inside of the store, and you can see some, although I really don't have a lot of analytics here, but you can get the message pretty easily as I go through it. You're going to be ranking your employees as they relate to your store. What's that do? Well, when Susie or Bob logs in, they'll see their employee rank within the store versus the total number of users, the sales dollars they've had, the interest collected, and a whole host of other reports. Great for coaching. Here you've got sales metrics, key performance indicators, really great for understanding what this particular employee does. Are they stronger in electronics, tools, jewelry? If you know that they're not doing a lot of jewelry, it might be a good opportunity to do some coaching. Loan metrics. Are their loans defaulting? I happen to really like that one because you can look at your different employees within the store and understand what they're doing, what they're loaning on, and how they're faring with the other employees. And it just goes on down below. Loans written, loans defaulted, and buys written. All great reports and intel to have when you're running and operating an individual store or a multiple store. Your store performance. Similar to the CompuPawn cash flow spreadsheet, this outlines everything from your new loans, loans renewed, loans redeemed, your loans defaulted, your loan balance. It's a big one for most people. Average loan, new loans made, pawn service charges, total service charges, your annual default rate, and a lot of good data that you can use to run and operate your operation. Keep in mind this is test data, but I think it's a very, very important report. It's also password protected, so your sensitive information won't be shared with your employees unless you allow them to. Company performance, great for the multiple operators on this call. You simply set a timeline, you run the report, and it compares your two stores. This is your total column, and this is your two stores compared side by side with a date range. Really, really good stuff to have when you're running and operating a business. So now we're going to jump into what we call the ping pong balls. The ping pong balls are shortcuts. You ever think about the number of times that you're inside of a pawn program and you have to leave the program in order to do something else? Well, you know, for those of us that have multiple monitors, you may want to consider adding a second monitor to your pawn station. It really enables you to be able to go to and have this access at your fingertips. As an example, if I wanted to look up a PayPal account, I simply click on that. I could pull it off to the side and look at it on my separate monitor, and you can see that it's sitting there, and I can just pull it to the side to give you an example. If you could envision this being a second monitor, You could look up eBay, all kind of remaining inside of the program so that you're not leaving what you're doing. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And then when you get to the bottom, we all have smartphones. Smartphones are a great way to combine and aggregate data. I think I looked at my phone the other day. I probably have 40 or 50 different applications that are loaded onto my iPhone 6. The little red balloons down at the bottom in this area are shortcuts in ways that you can focus on things that need to get done within your store operation. You don't have to run reports. It's like a little reminder system. We call this the Taskmaster. And inside of this, you can see that we've got layaways that need to be located, layaways that are overdue. Boy, oh boy, I'm way behind on my items waiting to be priced. Locating loans and buys in certain areas of your store. And if you also notice down below, you've got some empty tabs here. These tabs will be filled up with e-commerce that we'll talk to and we'll talk about in a few minutes. Tally's going to go over the e-commerce in a little bit more detail than I am today, and she'll report back after I get off this. But a great way that you can instruct your staff to pay attention. And if I'm not in the store, if you've got a little break within your store operations, please look down below in the Taskmaster and let's get those items completed. You're paying labor to each of your employees, and we know for a fact it's the biggest expense inside of a pawn shop. So you've got to keep people efficient, and the Taskmaster and the way that we've laid out our dashboard will do it. So I'm going to start out today. I want to do 3 loans for you, and I want you to think to yourselves about 3 items that are very commonly loaned at in your store. I've done this a number of different times, and depending on the condition, you'll see that we've got a very accurate way to complete loans inside of the system. We're going to start with our smart search here. We're going to start with the power tool. First thing I do is I put in the name, the manufacturer. It's what you want to lead on inside the smart search, and it brings up a series of different model numbers. Now you could continue to go in and complete the model number and make a selection on the one that you wanted to loan on. In this particular example, I'm going to loan on the 825. Let's see how much data we have in here. This is a DeWalt. It looks like an impact drill. And you see over here to the left-hand side, we've got a lot of data that's been put into the system by the Bravo users nationwide. As Tally indicated earlier, we've got about 500, close to 500 users of the Bravo system, and they're putting data into the system daily to help you at your store level create more accurate and expeditious loans. You don't have to spend a lot of time looking things up. The data's already here. So we've got a lot of history here with 610. So we're going to start writing the loan. If you can see up in the over here in the right-hand side, your pawn amount has already posted for you. So right now the system is telling us it's a $30 loan. And you'll see what happens after this as I begin describing the merchandise. Inside of the system, the Bravo new price is estimated that this particular impact tool is $75.87. That's brand new in the box. If you look down below, the average loan amount's about $28. The loan default rate on it's $37. If you'd like to get a little bit more data, you can go to our price guide, and it gives you a lot more data that you can use to make more accurate loans. I enjoy watching Pawn Stars like most of you all, and when they're on television, Rick will come on and he'll tell you that, you know, this is an incredible piece, and he wants to lend $7,500 on the ejection seat, but it's going to take him 2 years to find a buyer. Well, imagine if you had the detail at your fingerprints now to not only know what the value is, but when it would sell. Well, we're giving that to you in Bravo. We know it turns 10, 12 times a year. It sits on your shelf about 30 days, and that's a combined average between both in-store and online. We actually see that in-store, And in the BAYA comparison, eBay with BAYA, which is essentially our e-commerce channel for pawnbrokers, you can compare and decide where you want to post these items to maximize your profitability within your stores. They break fairly often at almost 7%, so be careful. The shrink on it's about 7%, which means they either disappear or are stolen from your stores. The defect rate is 0.5%, and we've got a lot of data in here that enables you to make very accurate loans at the pawn counter. So we're going to continue describing this. For those of you that have big stores, there's a new trend out for the thieves out there of the world. What they do is they walk into your store in a pack. They grab an item off your shelf when you're not looking. They peel the label off of it and present it to you at the pawn counter and ask you for a loan. One of the things we've done inside of Bravo is we've protected your stores for that. You see what happens when I put a serial number in. It gives us a report that says at least one item with the same serial number is in your store. It protects you from people having your merchandise being presented at the pawn counter. A little security precaution that's built into the system. You locate the item. We're going to put that into tools. And I want you to pay attention to these questions here, because these will carry over into your e-commerce channel in just a few moments that we'll show you. But you have to describe it a little bit better to make sure that your loan is going to be as accurate as possible. In this case, it's got some scuffs. It is functional, and we create a $19 loan. Now think for a moment about the comparison of your loan period versus a buy period determined by a hold, by your police hold. In Florida, it's a 60-day loan. It's a 30-day loan and a 30-day grace, but we own it in 30 days. So would you be more inclined to pay more for a buy because you own it sooner? New York and California are perfect examples because they've got long loan periods of 4.5 months, depending on how long you hold it and what the grace period is. In our case, we provide a slight bump inside of this, and this is completely configurable by you. We present a slight bump from $19 to $24 inside of the system. And you make the determination at that point to write the loan. If you don't agree with the estimator and what we've done here, you can look it up yourself. And if you notice, when we click on the eBay icon, it takes you to that exact area inside of eBay that you can look at what they're selling for online. Now, in this case, we started with looking up a product. I want to back out of this for a second, and I want to look up a customer so you've got a little bit more information to determine how accurate your loans can be. Once again, this is test data, so pardon our examples inside of here. And we bring up one of our best customers, Angelina. And some great things are happening here. Her data comes up. If you notice, you've got some interesting little alerts here. In CompuPawn, we call it the memo section. Inside of Bravo, we've got both notes and alerts, a good way to be able to find out what's going on with this customer. And if they're a bad customer and you've got them in a multiple store environment, you simply click on this button, edit this, and you can block Angelina from doing business at any of your store locations. In January of this year, we offered her $500 on a loan. And now we begin looking at the historical information from her to determine exactly what kind of client she is. We select her as a customer. And similar to what you just saw a few moments ago, inside of the reports, we've got reports that are associated with Angelina. And this is what we call our loyalty report, a great way of determining how good of a client that she is. The most important aspect over here is our lifetime contribution. This is a combination of sales, profitability, and a number of different factors that help us rank Angelina as one of our top customers at our store. So the big question is, if Angelina was in your store and you knew she had a good history, would you be more likely to do something special for her? Well, I think the answer is yes with regards to loyalty. And we built it into the system so it's automated. It's not a friend of a friend, a relative of a pawnbroker, or a husband or a wife of somebody that works in your store location. You determine the criteria. You determine what sort of an advantage you're going to give to Angelina because she's a great customer for your store. Another thing you can determine here, she's got multiple loans within her organization. The contact history. You ever tell your pawnbrokers, make sure you're calling the late loans within your store locations? You look down and you've got loans that can default, but you know they haven't been called. Well, here's your historical information for that. Phone call, mail, text message, all put in. We call them SLAs, your sales only associates at your stores. You put that into the system so that you can check on it. Inspect, don't expect. That's what Bravo does for you. It gives you the criteria to be able to go back in and look at what your SLAs are doing at your stores. So let's go ahead and let's write a loan for Angelina. In this case, we're going to write a loan on a ring. A nice little Angelina engagement ring. With the layout of our screen, we've also tried to make it very intuitive again. And you can see you can just about write the entire loan on one screen without a bunch of clicking and back and forth and switching to different menus. In this case, we're going to throw it on the scale. But before we do that, what pops up here down below is the spot price on gold. And this is updated 4 times a day for your stores. You determine what percentage of spot price you want to loan. You have the data, you have the intel, you don't have to go to Kitco, it's right there in front of you. So we're throwing the ring on the scale. Turns out it's a 7.2 penny weight ring. It's 18 karat, and it's white gold. And boom, you've got it right there, $179 loan. If you look to the upper right-hand corner, you can see that Bravo has created a smart loan for you for $179. Very easy, very effectively, very efficiently, without a lot of thought. And we said this was an engagement ring. We're going to be nice to Brad here. We're going to take it another step. Lady Solitaire. It's got 1 stone in it. 1.75 carat. And once again, after you've described it, by selecting the color and the clarity and the cut, it gives you your diamond value down here at the bottom of the screen. One thing you may have noticed is that the weight of the gold calculated to 7.2 pennyweights when we threw it on the scale. Well, listen, this is a big stone. Have you ever had a ring come in that was 14 or 18 karat and had a big colored stone inside of it? Well, if your SLAs aren't careful, they're paying the gold weight for those stones that are inside of your ring. So what we do is we deduct the gravity weight from the ring and reduce the amount of gold that's in it, which is really accurate. We estimate that between 5 and 8% an increase in scrap values because you're accurately paying for what's being presented at the pawn counter if they drop. So if this ring would have dropped on you and you removed the diamond and your SLAs weren't careful, you would have paid more for the gold weight than you would have with Bravo because Bravo deducts the stone from it. And you can also see if you increase the clarity or the quality, the stone value goes up. Our goal is to make simple, accurate, efficient loans at the pawn counter So you can do what you do best, which is customer service. You service your clients, you take care of them, and they'll come back. Organic growth. And as we showed you before, you've got a couple of different prices here. That would be about a 15% bump for a buy, or you can bump her 15% as a customer loyalty reward. All done efficiently and effectively inside the system. And of course, if you decide that they only want $200, just clear it out and put it right on top. And you write the loan for your amount. And we're going to advance to the next screen. Let's say you decide that you want to edit that a little bit and you want to give her a better interest rate. You have the ability to do that on the fly. And you'll notice something here in a moment. That's one of our new features. We call it mobile approval. I'll show you that when we wrap the loan up. So now we've written a loan for $1,500 at 8%. If you decide that you just want to buy it outright instead, you don't have to go back in and edit the loan. You simply click on one of these buttons here, and you can convert it right from a loan to a buy. Very easily, very efficiently. We're going to do one more loan on an Apple product. If you notice over to the left-hand side here, you've got your integrated military lending act that's not requiring me to, that's not allowing me to proceed. I've got to look up Angelina to make sure that she doesn't qualify. And with the touch of one button, it takes you right to the single page that you need to be on to run that report. We're hoping that we'll get a safe harbor from the Department of Defense, but if we don't, you're prepared. What happens in your store? A lot of people are asking. The loan gets reduced to 3% per month. So we're going to approve Angelina, say it's not applicable. We're going to write one more item. We're going to write it on an Apple iPad mini. We've got a lot of data on this one, 750 count. We know that your average sales margin when you sell it is about 28, 29%. Average loan is about $78 on it. Default rate's about 40%. If you want more data, as a reminder, you click on the price guide. It brings up that information for you. We know it sells pretty quickly, sits in your stores only for about a month. And then all the supporting data, how it sells online, what it sells for in your stores, what it sells for in the different omni-channels that Tally was talking about earlier. We're adding the serial number. We locate it in our store so we can find it. And now we begin describing it. Right now, as you can see, it's a $75 loan if you look to the upper right-hand corner of your screen. What condition is that? Well, we know that $75 loan is one that's in great condition. You can buy them online, almost brand new, for $190. The Bravo system is loaning $75. Well, watch what happens when we start describing it. I'll take a minute and I'll pause. I'll let you look at the different ratings that we have built into the system. Brand new in the box, like new, very good, or seller refurbished. In this case, we're going to rate this one as very good condition. What about those cables, those pesky cables that always seem to disappear when after the loan happens? We're going to say the majority of the cables and the chargers are in place. Storage capacity, 64 gigabytes. I believe that's a 7-inch screen. And it is a tablet. And here's the big one. It seems like every convention that we have, there's somebody talking about those locked iPads, locked phones that you're buying at the store that, if you're not careful, become worthless. So you would definitely get the password protection items in. It leaves you a note here. enter the notes on additional detail. Jump over, and we know we got it. And now we can go ahead and we can write the loan. So you can see in a matter of although we took a long time going through and making a loan, we know that once your staff and your SLAs and your managers get really efficient at Bravo, it takes about 45 seconds to write a loan. I'm going to write one more item here. If you've got your stopwatches on, you can start, and I'll go back to my DeWalt drill. It's a DC 825. A lot of data on the DC 825. It's created the categories for you. It's saved it inside your system. We're located into tools. It's in pretty decent shape. And it works okay. Another $24 loan written in just a few seconds. I'm going to get some error messages here when I complete it because I don't have printers attached to my demo system. But when I start to write the loan, it brings up an approval code after I tender the amount, and it's asking me to approve the loan that we reduced to 8%. If you remember on Angelina's ring, we dropped the interest rate on it. Well, you got a couple ways to do it. Currently in CompuPawn, you're asked for the approval code every time you hit an exception. Inside of Bravo, it ties up all the exceptions all the way at the end in one fell swoop. So if you had 3 or 4 exceptions here at the end, your manager, your assistant manager, the owners of your businesses would wrap it all up together at one time so they can prove all the exceptions. Let's say you're outside the store or you're running between stores. We've now got mobile approval that's built into it. So if I clicked request, I would have my managers and my assistant managers now requesting an approval code on their mobile phones to approve that lower interest rate. In this case, we're going to do a local approval. And the loan is now written. And we're giving Angelina her money. Similar to CompuPawn, you have the ability to go inside of the system and continue writing transactions. We didn't talk too much about that. I wanted to save some room for Tally to talk about e-commerce. But inside of the system, as you've already written a loan, you could go in and you could begin writing additional transactions inside of the system before you wrap it up. As an example, you could, if you look to your far right-hand side here on the side of the screen, you could create a loan on jewelry, on general merchandise. You could renew a loan. You could make a sale, create a layaway or make a layaway payment, do a repair, all without leaving the cashier. At the very tail end of it, you can wrap it up and collect all the money that's due. Hey, Tally, what else do you think I should cover today?
We have 2 questions. The first question is adding a customer, and the second question is adding an image. So I can take it over if you'd like, or if you want to show that before we flip over, that would be good too.
I'll be happy to let you take it over. If you want to go local to your computer, that'd be great. Are you ready, or should I take it?
I'm ready.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to start by addressing adding a new customer. And so the way that we do this is you can either use an ID scanner by sliding the ID scanner in the driver's license through the scanner. Bravo will populate. If you have the customer in the system, then it will allow you to select it. If you don't have it in the system, then you can add a new customer down here. And so this is going to bring you to an add customer screen where you're able to type in all of the details of this particular customer. And again, if you do have the driver's license, Bravo will automatically fill the information from the driver's license into Bravo so that you don't have any errors of mistyping or that you don't forget anything. Like Marco mentioned down here, we have any notes or any alerts that you want to add. And as soon as you start adding these, you'll notice that this notes button turns yellow. So maybe this customer gets 15% off jewelry. Now you have a note. If they forgot their ID and it's under the counter, you can add that and it will turn red for alert. Steve, does that answer your question on how to add a new customer? All right, great. So now let's go ahead and talk about adding an image to an item. So there's a few different times throughout a transaction that you're able to add an image. If you like to do it at the time of the loan, let's do a loan for a Nintendo Wii, for example. You'll notice we pull in some stock images up here. This is just to verify that you've got the right item, you're looking at the right thing. Anywhere that you see an area that's black like this, you can always right-click and capture an image. So you'll have a webcam set up via a USB cord, and you can capture the image here. So you can capture the image at the time of the loan. You can also capture an image at the time of the forfeiture or when you're pricing the item. And you can also capture an image when it's in your inventory. Marco talked a little bit about the mobile application and how you were able to do mobile approvals. We also have a way for you to take pictures with your mobile application and it will automatically tie it to the item. And so the way that that looks is Bravo will ask you to take a picture of the barcode of the label of the inventory item. You'll snap a picture of that. It'll pull up the item and you'll be able to take pictures from your cell phone. Because let's face it, now cell phone pictures are just as good as camera quality. And so those will link up and they'll actually go online for you when you take better, more improved pictures. Does that answer the question on adding images? I'm going to move along. If that doesn't answer, okay, perfect. That answers your question. So I'm going to move along into e-commerce and go ahead and keep posting your questions, and Marco will keep track of those now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about omni-commerce and selling online, and I'll try to do it quickly. We do have 2 webinars that are completely dedicated to this. So I'll send out a link after this webinar with links to those other webinars. So if you'd like to sign up for something that's more tailored towards e-commerce and eBay and omni-commerce, I'd sign up for those. So we're going to start with items waiting to be priced. So the first step is you're going to expire your loans that are overdue. And then they're going to come into this queue that's called items waiting to be priced. So you're going to go ahead and click this. And I'm going to jump into our staging environment so that I can show you what it's like to post online. And so this is the screen that we come to when you're ready to price items. So I have it categorized that I want to just do wristwatches and this brooch. So I can scroll through these. Like I mentioned before, you can take a picture at the time of pricing the item just by right-clicking and managing the images and adding some new ones in here. You'll notice over here we have a web button checked, and this is going to allow you to sell on the multiple different channels of online. So I'm going to go first into the estimator if I'd like to verify that I have the right number of stones and that everything looks okay in there. That's really great information to have because this information is then going to be carried over into your online listings. So you'll want to verify that everything looks right here. And I verified it, it looks great. Now I'm going to go into item detail. And this is where you're able to post to all of your different channels with the click of one with a few buttons. So first you have your tag description, and this is what's going to print on your actual tag. And then you also have your web title description, and this is what's going to show online. We have a full description where you can, type out even more. We've got the store price, and one of the things that we talked about a little bit at the very beginning is that Bravo is going to help you determine where's the best channel to sell things for. Well, when Marco pulled up the report on how much an item sells for, we have it by different channels. And Bravo actually lets you price things for more online than in your store or less online than in your store. So that enables you to make the most margin where it makes the most sense. So we're going to price this. Let's price it for a little bit less online. And we're going to put it for sale in Baya, on eBay, and on a company branded website. So here's this. We're going to select whether we want returns, how we want to pay for the shipping, and the shipping on eBay. Make an offer allows your customers to be able to negotiate with you. This also ties into the mobile application that we were talking about. So your associates and managers can be making sales 24/7. And if you want to do flat rate shipping, this is where you put the flat rate amount in. So we've got these 3 different boxes checked. Let's go ahead and click OK. And we're going to accept this to be priced. We're going to relocate it from the back of the house into the front of the house. So this is now going to show me locations for the front. Let's go ahead and pick that, and we'll accept. I accidentally clicked cancel. All right. So that item's been priced, and right now this wheel is spinning because it's sending things into the different channels, and we're done. So I'm going to pull another screen in so I can show you an example of a customer that has this item for sale in multiple different channels and in the store. And so first it's going to print a label for you. So you're going to print the label, you're going to put it on the brooch, and you're going to go ahead and locate it to that location. Meanwhile, it's gone to different places online. So the first place that it's going to go is Baya. And we talked about driving traffic into your Baya website, and we feed it into Google, Bing, and Yahoo every single day. And so this is a store in Virginia called Liberty Pawn and Gold, and you'll see they've got about 4,300 items listed, and they've sold about 5,000 items. They've got a perfect rating, so this is a really good customer service example of e-commerce doing it right. So this is their store profile in Baya, and when you shop, you can shop this store specifically from Baya. So let's go ahead and shop this store specifically. So if I shop this store, eventually I'll come across brooches, and you'll see that here's the brooch that I just priced. So here's the second channel. The first channel is in your store. Here's the second channel on Baya.com. You've got this brooch. You've got your 2 pictures in here. You'll notice that this is the same exact screen that's in the estimator. And the way that we describe things is so perfected that it's going to reduce your return rate. And Bravo and Baya has the lowest return rate. It's around 3%, which is extremely low for e-commerce. And we attribute that to the way that we're able to describe things. So here's channel number 2. Channel number 3 is your own company branded website. So here's Liberty Pawn and Gold. Here's their website. They have a little shop area, so you can go ahead and shop their jewelry. Let's go ahead and click that. And this is Liberty Pawn and Gold's company branded website, shoplibertypawnandgold.com. And so what happens is you'll go ahead and you'll search here, and eventually you'll come across the brooch. So here's Liberty Pawn and Gold. I'm going to scroll down. Here's the brooch, same item, and this is channel number 3. You'll notice that the same description appears. There's no extra effort in selling in all of these different channels. So this is channel number 3, your company branded website. Channel number 4 is on eBay. So this is eBay. Liberty Pawn and Gold clicked that little eBay box, and you'll notice that we have the template all built for you. Here's the condition. This is the exact description that Bravo built for you without having to type in any extra information. And here's the item on eBay. So again, you've got the 2 pictures, you've got your perfect description here that's going to lower your return rate, and you've got your 2 pictures up here. That's the 4th integrated channel. So we've got 4 channels: in-store, Baya, eBay, and company branded website. Now Bravo also has e-commerce options for Craigslist, Amazon, and Gunbroker, and we'll talk about that in the e-commerce, omni-commerce webinar, but that exists just to let you know that it's there. So let's go back into Bravo. We've priced that item. It's for sale in multiple places, and we talked about having one central location where you can view your inventory and your online sales. And so down here, you'll notice all of our web tasks. So we have 52 items that are waiting to be fulfilled. We have 2 people that are coming in to do web in-store pickup. We've got some payment settlements. We have 2 returns that are on their way in. And so Bravo manages the entire return process. It looks like we have to give web feedback to 12 different buyers. And all of this is managed from this one screen. You never have to go to eBay. You don't have to go to a separate shopping cart. Everything is managed from this one screen. Also with that means that you don't have to go to a bunch of places to compile lots of reports. And one of the reports we have is e-commerce performance. And so when you click this, you'll get an overview of how your store is doing online. So we have BIA, we have different items listed. Again, this is a test environment, so not much data here. You have your different categories, what's selling best in Bravo, what's the most popular item in all Bravo stores. So you really get condensed, consolidated reporting in one place, all from Bravo, e-commerce and online, and we're managing it all for you. And you don't have to go anywhere else. So that's an overview of OmniCommerce. We've got 4 minutes until the top of the hour. I think we have one question left that we haven't answered. If you have any other questions, go ahead and type them. And the next question is...
Hey, Kelly, could you please show us how to do a package as an example, a package loan on a DeWalt combo package? I've got something pulled up on my screen in case you have to search for something.
Yeah, so you can...
Otherwise you can run with it.
Yeah, so you can do this a few different ways. I know some states require that if it's a combo kit, you have to bring in each item separately with separate serial numbers, and you can do that. Or you can bring it as a combo kit, and if you want to then split it at the time of pricing into multiple different pieces, you can do that as well. So I'll show you the first example of just bringing it in as a 3-piece combo kit. So you'll notice we have the information here. We can go ahead and select the different functionalities. Let's say we want to give $50 for this. We'll click next, and we just wrote a loan for a 3-piece combo. I'm going to switch back into production. Sorry about that. So we'll go ahead and click next. So that's one way to do it. That's bringing it in as 5, I think is here. If you wanted to do it separately, you could do the loan and add multiple items to the same ticket. And so instead of adding it from over here, you would actually add it from right here. So this add merchandise is to this particular ticket. And so you'll be able to add multiple items with multiple different model numbers into the same ticket as a combo kit. And again, at the time of pricing, you can always merge or split items. So let's say we want to give $14 for this, and now you'll notice that we've added 2 items to this particular combo kit. Does that answer your question on that? Okay, I'm going to move into editing the description on the time of forfeit. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So you can edit the description a few different ways when you're forfeiting it. The first way is just going through the estimator, and you can update, maybe you update the condition rating, maybe you update that it's missing cords now, maybe you update the pictures on it. So you can update all of those things, and you can also update it when you're doing the item detail, and you can change the tag or update the description there. So let me show you an example of that. So here's the ladies' gold ring, for example. I can either go into the estimator and I can update the condition here. Let me do a general merchandise. Let's do an iPod. So I can come back into the estimator and I can update the description here. So if I want to change the condition to 87% instead of 90%, I can do that. Maybe I can't find the cords now that it's out of loan. Let's go ahead and click that those aren't included anymore. So you can update the condition here. And then in the item detail, you can also update the actual description of what prints on the tag or the full description of it here. Does that answer your question on how to edit description after forfeit?
Thank you. Great.
All right. Well, it's exactly 11 Central Time or 12 Eastern Time. Thank you so much for joining us. Basically, what will happen after this is I'm going to send you an email. Thanks for attending. It's going to have a link to all of our webinars and all of our library of recordings that you can come to. In addition, Marco and I will be reaching out to you and asking if you have any additional follow-up questions that we can answer for you, and asking you what maybe your best next steps are for us to follow. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. Again, we really appreciate you coming, and we will be in touch soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.